The Godfather, Mel Kiper Jr., has a brand new 2-round mock draft. So we're going to break that down for you today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big shout out, thank you, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who make Locked On NFL Scouting your first listen every day, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started.
Joe, in honor of Mel Kiper's mock, I do have my hair at maximum volume.
Oh,
today.
Thank you. Yes.
We're vertical today. I'm sure the YouTube comments will be aflame about the height, but it's Mel Kiper homage day, as Mel puts. I think he said this was his last mock draft, but I don't believe that because Mel always puts one out on like Thursday, the day of the draft after all the news comes out within the 24-hour window. And that'll be, I think, when we see Mel's last mock. But Mel Kiper 2-round mock draft nonetheless today.
Yeah, it's a fun one to look at. We have several trades up for quarterbacks, 3 of those. I think the 2-round sample size gives us a fun opportunity to look at the positional breakdown, whether that's the order of the players or the quantity of players at each position. And then, guys that are higher, guys that are lower than maybe you thought. So should be a fun conversation here, reflecting on Mel's latest 2-round mock draft. And I guess we start with these quarterbacks. 3 teams trading up to go get one.
Yeah. The Vikings, the Giants, and the Rams going up to get quarterbacks. The first 3 picks also quarterbacks. So 6 total in the first 2 rounds, 4 in the first round, 4 in the top 5 picks. And the Vikings McCarthy deal really just feels like who's going to be the team that goes back, because it feels like there's an inevitability there. I think the only other team to maybe watch would be the Giants, who Mel actually has moving up in the beginning of the 2nd round for QB5.
For Mel, it's the Chargers, right? The Vikings send 23. That gets them from 11 to 5. And the Vikings select J.J. McCarthy, as you noted. Are we sure about this? Are we sure that Drake May is going to be the Patriots guy and Jaden Daniels is the Commanders guy?
I feel pretty good about Jaden Daniels, yeah.
I feel less good about the Patriots and Drake May.
Versus JJ being their guy?
Yeah, I think if you made me do my final mock draft today, I would say the Patriots pick McCarthy and the Vikings trade up for Drake May.
Okay, well, hear me out.
All right.
Because I'm doing a first-round mock draft for Touchdown Miami, which is my long-form Dolphins Substack. And the argument that I have for the Patriots taking Drake May, because I have them taking Drake May as well, is the last player the Patriots took at quarterback was the in-structure, execute as things are designed to be run type of player. And J.J. McCarthy has better tools than Mac Jones. You readily acknowledge that. But the departure for a player who has kind of the big play gene kind of baked into who he is in Drake May, I think is kind of the knee-jerk, whether it's right or wrong, reaction to what the experience was with Mac Jones.
Perfectly reasonable position. There's just a part of me that feels like the intangibles, and I don't think that they're bad with Drake May. Don't get me wrong here. I just think that the Patriots are going to love the makeup of J.J. McCarthy. And I feel like the Vikings, there's some parallels with their coaching staff to Drake May at some point in his high school or something like that. Was it McCown? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's McCown.
Don't you feel like that's something? I can't get that out of my head.
That's not up to them. That's up to.
I know that, but it's
New
the
England
first domino is New England says we want McCarthy. I think it's worth considering.
Okay.
Now, we've talked all about the Vikings and trading up and how these top quarterbacks fall. What's interesting is how Mel Kiper has things going from there. He doesn't have Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr. going in the first round, but he does have them going early in the second round, courtesy of two trades up. Let's start with Bo Nix. The New York Giants trade into pick 33, which is the Carolina Panthers' first scheduled selection. They move back. They move back to 47, keeping in mind the Panthers also already have 39. So the Panthers go back from 33 to 47. They get the Giants' 2025 second-round pick, according to Mel Kiper. In this, the Giants come up for Bo Nix, quarterback, Oregon. How does this make you feel?
Conflicted, because I feel like for Bo is another kind of in the same light as JJ McCarthy, executes the offense as it's called. Now, we saw Brian Daboll scheme up some really good stuff in year one with Daniel Jones. So maybe there's some optimism for the scheme of Daboll. They just don't have weapons, right? And obviously they use their first round pick on Malik Neighbors in Mel's mock. So that helps. But I'd feel a lot better about Bo Nix going to an environment that has kind of an already established supporting cast as compared to, hey, it's rookie wide receiver, completely remade offensive line. Oh, by the way, the coaching staff is potentially on the hot seat coming into this season. So things better go well, because if they don't, there might be a coaching staff change, and then you're going to be the holdover from another regime. Would just have me very leery for the long-term outlook of Bo Nix in that spot.
Yeah, that's exactly where I land. I'm not sure Bo Nix does anything to help Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen continue beyond this season if it doesn't go well. And I think the Giants, if we're going to do something for a quarterback, let's get some ceiling. We had a conversation last week about Bo Nix. We like Bo Nix.
Yes.
But I just don't know if this is like the type of move for the Giants that elevates their ceiling as a football team. And I'm sure Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll don't care about that 2025 second round pick. I can certainly see the logic behind what Mel has here. I just don't love the idea of this being the investment for the Giants this year. I don't think it helps them. I don't think it helps them at all. I don't think that Bo Nix is going to be able to step in this year and run the offense better than Daniel Jones. The other move up for a quarterback, the Rams. The Rams coming up from 52 to 37. They give up 83 and 196 to get to 52 from 37. Michael Penix Jr., quarterback, Washington. Kyle, I know you know the Shanahan offense real well. Penix in that offense, are we getting the warm fuzzies or not so much?
It's about the polar opposite
of
what Michael Penix does well. You see Derek Klassen for reception perception did the Penix charting for success rate on routes and areas of the field.
I didn't, but I can only imagine what that looked like.
It very much aligns with the tape. Outside the numbers, 20-plus yards downfield, in the middle of the field. But the intermediate stuff, the in-between the hashes and in-between the number stuff, short and intermediate, below average performance. And that really aligns, I think, with what Michael Penix was at Washington. And this feels like one of the big divide players, doesn't it? As far as some of the perception that's out there about the player and some of the narrative that's out there about the player versus what I know you and I have both seen that kind of more aligns with how Derek charted him as a player. It's really fascinating. And then you put that in a Shanahan offense where so much of what you do is predicated on successfully attacking the middle of the field with accuracy and timing and anticipation. Those aren't the pillars of Michael Penix, right? I would think more if Tampa Bay hadn't paid Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. There we go.
That's the style of skill group and how they've played that I think would be much more of a 1-for-1 with how Michael plays at quarterback. But the Rams wouldn't be a fit for me.
Yeah, a couple of questionable trades up in the second round, but it's all fun, right? Like, I mean, scenarios, talking through them. This is some of my favorite conversations. So even if we don't agree, it's still cool to kind of peel back the layers and kind of talk through the possibilities. All right. We talked about this mock draft being 2 rounds, and so we're going to consider the positional distribution here in just a moment. So be sure to stick with us. Folks, it's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every single game. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's right, guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. And you can bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all in an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
The quarterback movement, not the only notables in this mock draft. Joe, you've taken the liberty to break down the position distribution through the first 2 rounds of Mel's mock draft. And the top of the podium goes to wide receivers with 15 wide receivers in the first 2 rounds of the draft, which is, I'm not a math guy, but that's almost...
I've got the calculator coming up, Cal. Don't do this to yourself.
Almost 25%. I'm going to say 22% of the first 2 rounds is wide receivers.
23.4%, Kyle Crabbs. Well done.
11 corners, which surprises me a little bit. That was the number 2.
That was a big number. Yeah. Sneaky good corner class, you know? Like, we're not talking about it. There's not like Sauce Gardner or Derek Stingley type guy. We got some good players, and I think there's good depth that you can get on day 2.
Yeah, still a little too rich. I need to watch this Drew Phillips, who sneaks in at
Kentucky, yeah,
63 from Kentucky for Mel. I've heard a lot of good things about him. Pumped to see my guy Mike Sanders still made the top 2 rounds.
Yeah, well. He goes
late. He went late. He went later than he should.
Did they hit? Is it the Texans that get him?
Texans at 59.
Yeah, Texans with friggin' Johnny Newton and Mike Sanders still in the second round.
Like, no first round pick.
Come on, man.
Can't happen. And then offensive tackles with 10 is the third place for most volume. 1 linebacker, 1 tight end, and 1 running back in the first 2 rounds apiece for Mel.
Yeah, I guess the traditionally low value positions not showing up here, right? Like you said, 1 running back, 1 tight end, 1 linebacker. And even like 2 safeties, and the 2 safeties aren't necessarily the 2 that you think they're going to be. It's Cole Bishop and Javon Bullard as safety 1 and 2 off the board in this draft, and they don't come off the first one until pick 50, and then 60 is the other one. So for the Tyler Nubins and Jaden Hicks, there's some hype out there for some of these guys. Not even top 2 round picks in this mock draft, but. Yeah, man, I think the story here is 11 corners, 15 wide receivers, 10 offensive tackles. If you include interior offensive line, that's 16 16 offensive linemen altogether, which feels very much like leaning into what the NFL wants right now, right? We want people that can help you in the passing game and guys that can block. So a very rich draft for kind of what the whole league's looking for.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess as I consider the offensive tackles, OT2 comes off the board. OT1 comes off the board at 7. I think that's the weird thing, right? Is the tackle run really starts late and you still get to 10. OT1 comes off at 7. OT2 comes off at 11, courtesy of a trade down. And you get 13, 14 to get to 4. Then you got to wait till 24. You go 24, 25. Then you get Rosengarten to the 49ers at 31, which feels a little rich for me. Jordan Morgan classified as an offensive tackle. Do you think he's an offensive tackle at the next level? Some teams will probably feel differently about him.
Well, he has Fatanu listed as an interior offensive line. I listed these positions as Mel had them. So you can actually say that this is 11 offensive tackles if you want to have Fatanu as a tackle. or you could just flip flop him and Morgan, and then you're right there at 10.
Right. Which I think is probably how I would choose to distribute those two guys. I do think for Seattle, who Mel has Fatanu going to, with obviously Ben Grubb, the OC in Washington last year, now the OC of the Seahawks, and their needs on the interior. I think he would be an interior guy for Seattle specifically, but generally would classify him as a tackle. Was a little surprised to see Patrick Paul to the Eagles at 50, though.
Yeah, felt
we just
early.
got the Mailata contract extension done. Lane Johnson's can still go.
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't think Patrick Paul is a particularly appealing prospect either. So that for me is probably the one. That and Rosengarten I look at as the two kind of surprise tackle fits amidst that group.
Let me ask you this. Let's say that you had the opportunity, hypothetically, with our friends over at FanDuel, and they give you that $150 bonus bet. And you have to put it all on who you think the second offensive tackle drafted is. I think we all can accept that it's Joe Alt, number one. But I've seen Fatanu, I've seen Fuaga, I've seen Latham, I've seen Fashanu. Who do you think it is? Predictably.
Okay. If the Chargers move out of 5, then I think Latham is OT2. And I think the Chargers would take Latham.
Is it okay? Predictively. Now let's go not predictively, like the way that you value the prospects. I think Fuaga is just a better player. If you're going to get that right tackle prototype, I'd so much rather have Fuaga.
You would?
Yes. I don't feel like you're agreeing with me on that, and that's fine.
I love the aggressiveness of both players. I think Latham has probably a little bit more in the way of gravitational pull, where Fuaga is a little bit more aggressive. I don't want to say he's Tevin Jenkins in the way what he was at Oklahoma State, but I think his aggressiveness really is his best asset in all phases of the position. And I think sometimes that can get him in trouble in pass protection.
One thing that I thought was really fascinating with the distribution of the talent is the edge rusher position. We have 5 in the top 2 rounds.
Let me just say I have the same sheet up as you, and it's on my other monitor, and you just filtered it to list the edge guys, and I wasn't looking when you did that, and I totally panicked thinking I deleted half the list. So.
Yeah, no, you're good. So the edge rushers, 4 in the top 26. It's the 4 that you would expect. We get one more at 61, and it's Adisa Isaac, the edge rusher out of Penn State. This aligns with my own work on this edge class. I'm looking. Yeah, dude, it's one of those top 4 or not really much. I mean, even if you wanted to buy in on the upside of a Marshawn Nealand, it just really, to me, it falls off a cliff after that top 4. You want to talk about identifying talent cliffs in a draft? I think after the top 4 edge rushers, it falls off big time.
Yeah. Now, if you wanted to qualify Darius Robinson as a defensive end, he does go at 27. So that's
you just waiting at 288.
I understand that. I'm just saying he has played historically from 290 to 270, right? So in theory,
thanks for that.
He could, in theory, be a defensive end. He goes off at 27 to the Cardinals.
There's still a cliff there, right? 27 to 61, even if you did call him an edge rusher.
Right. Yeah, I think there's that is a group where if you want, but at the same time, I do feel like there's really intriguing late day 2 pass rush types. Just maybe not second round, second tier guys you think would be adequate starters right off.
Name names. Who you like?
Okay, let me pull up.
I know is it Jonah Ellis, Utah, right? Is a 3rd round guy.
Yeah. He had really outstanding pro day numbers.
Austin Booker.
Austin Booker's a little Alex Highsmithy for me, so I think he's another mid-round potential 3rd round guy.
Kansas, by the way.
I like Mohamed Kamara more than both of those two names that you've invoked.
Ooh, there's a good one.
Yannick and
Colorado State. Remember, we got to say the colleges.
Right. Marshawn Nealand from Western Michigan is a really intriguing developmental type.
Yeah, if you're around for when the light bulb goes off there, he's got all the stuff, man.
Braylon Trice from Washington's about as productive as a pass rusher as there is in this class. He's kind of a weird intersection of he cut like 20 pounds to run 4.7, so that's a little bit of a concern. But I think in the third round, you feel good about that. Gabriel Murphy from UCLA, really athletic. So there's guys that I think is potential designated pass rushers, not giving them full snap volume or expectation that they start right away, but could develop into meaningful 700 plus snap takers on a defensive line.
So you have some appealing depth options on the edge, but
for the record, I have none of those names graded in the second round, though.
Yeah. All right. So
there you go.
There you go. You get one of those top 4. If you consider Robinson an edge, one of those top 5s, and then you are slim pickings. I don't like Isaac. There's going to be a lot of players that you just mentioned that I have higher than Isaac. So there's that. All right, we're going to get into prospects that were picked surprisingly high and surprisingly low on the other side of it. So be sure to stick with us. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers.
So surprisingly high and surprisingly low. Our next focus here on Mel's final apparent. We'll see.
Fake
mock draft 2024. I also believe it's fake news. What stands out to you? Xavier Worthy at 23 stand out to you a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. And that's part of the Chargers first round formula. So they trade back to 11. They get 11 and 23. 11, they get J.C. Latham, the tackle from Alabama. And then at 23, they get Xavier Worthy, wide receiver, Texas. I think part of what surprises me about it is that's wide receiver 4.
Mm-hmm.
So the top 3 go in the top 9 picks, and then not Brian Thomas or anything like that. It's Xavier Worthy to the Chargers. And obviously we've seen guys get overdrafted on account of speed. John Ross being the poster child for that as a top 10 pick. And obviously Ted Ginn's another one of those. Obviously, like there's precedent for overdrafting for speed. I don't know, man. Don't you feel like the Chargers need some like a volume guy? And to Xavier Worthy's credit, he has more volume at Texas than you anticipate. But like, and you project that to the next level, this isn't a target gobbler, in my opinion.
I think he can be a triple-digit target guy. I don't know that he's going to be a 180 target guy, which is what the top guys, the CeeDee Lambs and Tyreek Hills, and that's a Justin Jefferson's. It's a little different stratosphere as far as the volume. But if you told me he got 100, 110 targets on any given year, like I'd believe it. He's more than he's a lot more than just the stereotype of running a 4-2-1.
No, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. I just, as the 4th guy.
All right, compare him to Devonta Smith for the weight.
I think Devonta Smith has way better ball skills, hands, and route running.
And Devonta Smith has 352 targets in 3 seasons.
So it's about
120 targets a year.
Right. But like for
you could
a
put him
team,
at 300 targets in 3 years.
I guess I have to take Quentin Johnson seriously for the Chargers. That's what I have to do.
You can get thrown the ball.
That's what this is rooted in.
Sure.
Like the existing wide receiver core and how Xavier Worthy factors into that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think their skill group kind of feels like it's just starting from scratch, which isn't necessarily a bad thing considering the dramatic overhaul of the offensive direction that we're anticipating. But
keeping it on wide receivers, I don't know if I'm surprised about this player being high or low, but I'm really happy to see it. Xavier Legette going in the first round. I'm not happy to see him go 32 to the Chiefs. That feels like a nightmare. But I feel like the valuations and the evaluations of Xavier Legette are just really all over the place, and most of them are lower than me, and I think you as well. So to see some big draft guy have this guy going in the first round makes me feel like I'm not taking crazy pills.
when the challenging thing with it is so much of it is pick your flavor, right? When there's 15, you have Xavier Worthy, you have Xavier Worthies, you have Brian Thomas's, you have Lad McConkey's, you have all different types and kinds, and projecting them individually is the challenging part. And for Kansas City, having a guy in Legette who has physicality, but also long speed explosiveness, and can take short stuff long distances, I think it's a good fit. And because of that, I think it's a logical pairing. I would not be surprised if Legette goes earlier than 32.
I hope he does.
I bet you do. I bet you probably hope he goes about 4 spots earlier than that, right?
Right exactly at 4 spots earlier. Yeah.
Spots.
Yeah.
Guys, a guy that went lower, it feels like the Johnny Newton league love is not in line with the online love.
Is it the foot? Is it the foot injury? Is that what we're concerned about?
He played the second half of the year with a Jones fracture.
It's first round tape, man. It's first round tape.
He plays
first round measurables.
Plays a higher volume of snaps than the other guys in this class too. He's played a lot of football the last 3 years.
Speaking of guys going lower, and maybe you are a little ahead of this, Jackson Powers-Johnson goes 47 to the Panthers. That was a name that there was a point in time where we had conversations where we're like, man, I don't think he gets past Seattle. Definitely doesn't get past the Steelers, the Dolphins. The Chargers were like all these spots, the Cowboys.
It was like
he gets by them all.
24. They were like that block at 8. He's going in there somewhere.
I fell into that. For sure as well. So now he's 47. Is it what do you think it was just overhyped coming out of the Senior Bowl? Is it the snap stuff that only you've pointed out? What do we got here?
A little bit. I think you come out of the Senior Bowl with really 2 days of really strong performances at practice. It certainly helps ignite your stock, but I think as you get further away from that isolated incident, you look at the full body of work and you understand that he has 1 year of tape at center, and then he's kind of falling back into guard, and you're comparing him to the other guards. And I think something that's working against him is if you don't consider him a center, and I don't think his best position, at least in the short term, is at center. You're talking about Zach Frazier. You're talking about potentially Graham Barton, Christian Haynes, Cooper Beebe. Mason McCormick's got like super good athletic testing out of South Dakota State. Go Jackrabbits. Zach Zinter from Michigan coming back off of the season-ending leg injury that he had. It's like kind of the separator was, well, if he's a center, it's a little bit more of an important position than guard. And then you watch the center tape and you like really watch the center tape and you watch where the snaps are at. It's like, maybe we're not so well equipped to play center right off the jump anyway. Let's maybe go back to guard where we played the previous season. And you kind of get back into the positional value conversation. And I think that's something that feeds into it too.
Real quick before we get out of here. Dolphins get Jared Verse and Christian Haynes. You taking that right now?
Dude,
Easy. Yes.
I'm lighting a folding table on fire in the backyard and
Yeah.
jumping off the roof and
I hear
going
you.
through Bill's Mafia style.
You should.
For
You should.
that one,
You
that
should.
1-2 combo.
Bills get Brian Thomas, wide receiver, LSU at 28, and then Cole Bishop, the safety.
I like Cole Bishop a lot.
I would take this as well. I'm not jumping off of the house or like swimming with dolphins or anything like that. You know, that won't happen. But I would. The fact that they're not trading up for Brian Thomas and just picking him at 28, that's fine.
Right.
I can live with that.
And then Cole Bishop, you know, if he could sort out the tackling a little bit, I got some Cole Bishop clips I can send you if you haven't seen.
I've done him. Yeah, I've done him. I think he's
like
not. I want a guy that can play in deeper zones better. Like I think he's more of a low safety, and for that, I think he's really good. I just want more of the coverage
He
upside.
can fly though. He can fly.
I told you I'd take it. I'm taking that.
Good.
Yeah.
Mel did right by both of us here in Lockdown NFL Scout.
That's all we ask.
Right by you as well. You can swing it over and check it out at ESPN. I'm Kyle Crabbs. He is Joe Marino. We are Locked On NFL Scouting. We appreciate you guys for checking out the show. Make it a great rest of your day. We are out of here. Until tomorrow. We'll see you then.